Inflation is skyrocketing. No food, no fuel, and only miseries. In such a situation, civil unrest looks imminent in Europe. Now, see this statement by German Interior Minister Nancy Feser. Just 3 days ago, she warned that several radical groups could use the ongoing inflation of fuel prices as a new mobilization theme for protests. Just 2 weeks ago, the Vice President of European Commission had the same warning. He said Europe is in danger of highly damaging, very strong conflict and strife this winter over high energy prices. Interestingly, the EU official supported a short-term shift to fossil fuels to avert major civil unrest. You see, the toxic combination of food prices and energy prices is making life difficult for many in Europe. Spiraling inflation has been vaporizing the salaries of lower income Europeans, triggering protests and strikes across the continent. French railway workers went on strike in early July, asking for wage hikes to match the country's official inflation rate, which is expected to reach 8% by the end of the year. Earlier, French energy sector workers also went on strike over the cost of living. In a similar fashion, Brussels was hit by the cost of living protests in June, as were London and cities across Ireland. In Italy, mayors turned off the lights of major monuments earlier this year to protest the high cost of energy. Norway energy workers too have threatened to freeze oil production in the country, citing the need to raise their wages. Well, it looks like Europe has now realized its folly as it plans to walk back its sanctions on Russia. For example, European Union on Wednesday announced that it will unfreeze some funds of top Russian banks. Why these sudden largesse, you may ask? The answer is food. The unfreezing was required to ease bottlenecks in the global trade of food and fertilizers. It was also required to shore up EU's plummeting credibility in Africa because various African leaders believed that it was European sanctions that were hindering Russia's food trade with African nations. But the real elephant in the room is energy. As of now, Russia appears as the cheapest source, which means that only Russia can help the EU lower fuel prices and avert a civil war. But will EU be ever ready to swallow this defeat down its throat and leave Ukraine to fend for itself? Pragmatically speaking, no country will ever dare to support Ukraine at the expense of its own stability. Food comes first, fuel comes first, on stability and national security come first. So, when Russia switched off the Nord Stream 1 pipeline earlier this week, the EU started facing the music and developing second thoughts on its sanctions on Russia. Considering this, it is highly likely that EU may continue to keep walking back on its anti-Russia moves and provide Russia with more breathing room. At the end of the day, Ukraine could become the ultimate casualty of this trend, and Kiev could soon be forced to lay down its weapons.